Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Parker, urologist and men's health educator, and I want to start with a very direct question. What if your low T isn't mainly about age, but about one simple daily choice you make every night before going to bed? For años, you may have been told that feeling tired, losing muscle, gaining belly fat, and losing confidence in your intimacy is just what happens after 50 or 60. But when we actually look at how the male body works, the story changes. In many men, the problem isn't that the body has stopped working. The problem is that recovery hormones are being sabotaged, noche tras noche, by a tiny habit that feels harmless because everybody does it. In this video, I want to guide you through that habit, explain what it does to your recovery hormones, especially testosterone, and show you how small changes in your bedtime routine can transform your energy, your circulation, your mood, and your intimate confidence in the years ahead. I'm not here to promise miracles or make you feel guilty. I'm here as a calm voice, almost like a conference talk in your ear, helping you understand your own biology in simple terms so you can take back control of it. Let's start with what you might be living right now. You wake up already tired. Maybe you've spent the last months or years, depending on your first coffee, to feel human. Your belt has moved 1 or 2 holes outward, even though you don't feel like you're eating much more than aunties. Climbing stairs leaves you a little more short of breath. Your motivation to exercise ha bajado, even though you know you should. At night, you sometimes feel less responsive, menos seguro, less spontaneous in your intimate life. Inside, a little voice says, "It must be my testosterone. I'm getting old." That's it. So you search online for low T and the results are overwhelming. Supplements, injections, gels, promises of becoming a new man in dias. It's easy to conclude that your only options are resigning yourself to decline or jumping a un tratamiento hormonal. And yes, there are real medical conditions where testosterone replacement is appropriate and necessary, but there is another reality that almost nadie te explica. A big part of what we call low T in mature men is not a permanent failure of your body. It's a consequence of lifestyle signals, especially the ones you send in the last hour of your day. To see this clearly, we need to talk about recovery hormones. When people hear testosterone, they often think only about masculinity or intimacy. But testosterone is, above all, a recovery and vitality hormone. It supports muscle maintenance, bone strength, red blood cell production, mental drive, stable mood, and confidence in your daily life and in your relationship. Alongside testosterone, your body also relies on other recovery hormones like growth hormone and certain anabolic pathways to repair tissues, regulate metabolism, and maintain resilience. These aren't just young men's hormones. They keep working later in life, if we let them. Here is the part most men never hear clearly. Your recovery hormones do much of their best work while you sleep. Deep sleep and certain phases of REM sleep are like a night shift for your endocrine system. While you are lying still, your brain and glands are very busy. They pulsate hormones, repair microdamage in your muscles, recalibrate your immune system, and reset your sensitivity to insulin and stress. If your nights are short, shallow, or constantly interrupted, it's like forcing the night shift to work half a schedule and then blaming them for not finishing the job. Now let's reveal the simple daily choice that quietly disrupts this whole process in millions of men. It isn't exotic. It isn't complicated. It's the way you treat your bedtime. For many, the real choice is this. Do I protect my sleep, or do I sacrifice 1 more hour to screens, work, or stimulation? Staying up scrolling on your phone, watching just 1 more episode, answering late-night messages, keeping bright light in your eyes until the moment you close them. Turning your bed into an office, a movie theater, and a newsroom all at once. That habit feels normal, but hormonally, it is a direct attack on your capacity to recover. Your body has an internal clock, a rhythm tied to light and darkness. As night approaches and the environment naturally darkens, your brain is designed to release melatonin, the hormone that signals that it's time to wind down. As you fall asleep and go into deeper stages, pulses of growth hormone appear. Early in the night, sleep helps regulate cortisol, your stress hormone, so that it drops and stays low. Later in the night, especially toward the early morning, the body increases testosterone production. All of this happens in an intricate choreography that depends on timing, darkness, and continuity. When you fill the last hour of your day with bright screens inches from your face, your brain doesn't receive a clear night signal. The blue light from phones, tablets, and TVs mimics daytime. Your melatonin release gets delayed. It takes you more time to reach deep sleep. You spend more minutes in a light, fragile sleep that doesn't repair as well. If you go to bed late, you also reduce the total time available for the deep stages where growth hormone and testosterone are released in meaningful pulses. You wake up before the hormonal night shift has finished its work. It's like turning on the lights in a workshop at 4 a.m. and asking everyone to go home before they've terminado de reparar la maquinaria. This is not just theory. When men cut their sleep to 5 hours a night for several days, their testosterone can drop into ranges that many clinics would label as low T. At the same time, cortisol, the hormone of stress and alertness, stays higher for longer. Cortisol and testosterone are like opposite sides of a seesaw. When one stays chronicamente elevado, it tends to push the other down. So if you go to bed late, make your brain think it's still daytime with bright light, and then sleep too poco. You're basically asking your body to live in stress mode, not recovery mode. That shift explains much of what you might be feeling. Elevated cortisol and poor sleep make it harder to regulate blood sugar. After short nights, your body becomes less sensitive to insulin, which pushes your metabolism towards storing more fat, especially around the abdomen. That central fat tissue is not inert. It produces inflammatory molecules and contains enzymes that convert part of your testosterone into other hormones. As your waistline grows, your effective testosterone shrinks. You feel heavier, weaker, and more sluggish, which makes you menos likely to move and exercise, and the cycle feeds itself. At the same time, shallow or insufficient sleep disrupts the hormones that control appetite. Ghrelin, which stimulates hunger, tends to go up. Leptin, which signals fullness, tends to go down. After a poor night, that combination pushes you toward cravings for quick energy foods, refined carbohydrates, sugary snacks, heavy meals late in the day. Those choices then spike your blood sugar, trigger more insulin, and encourage even more fat storage and inflammation. Now, the same sleep habit that started as "I just scroll a bit antes de dormir" is influencing your weight, your energy, your vascular health, and your testosterone. If we add circulation to the picture, the story continues. Healthy intimate function depends on flexible blood vessels, a responsive endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries, and adequate production of nitric oxide, a molecule that allows blood vessels to dilate. Good sleep helps regulate blood pressure, reduces inflammatory stress on the vessel walls, and supports nitric oxide production. In contrast, short or irregular sleep is linked to higher blood pressure, stiffer arteries, and poorer endothelial function. That means less blood flow, right where you most want it to be reliable. Many men interpret these changes as a pure failure of masculinity. Biologically, it's often a sign of an exhausted vascular system trying to operate con descanso insuficiente. The mind is not spared either. Recovery hormones influence more than muscles and vessels. They shape how you feel in your daily life. Adequate testosterone and growth hormone, combined with restful sleep, support stable mood, clear thinking, and a healthy sense of initiative. When your nights are cut short, you are more prone to irritability, brain fog, anxious thoughts, and low enthusiasm. You might begin to think, "I'm just not the same person anymore," when in fact your brain is simply overcooked and underrested. At this point, many men arrive at the same logical but incomplete a conclusion. I have low T, I need testosterone. And again, I want to be very fair. There are men whose glands truly cannot keep up, even with excellent sleep and habits. For them, a well-controlled hormonal therapy can be valuable. But there is also a huge group of men with what we call functional low testosterone. Their glands are still capable, but the signals they send and receive are distorted by lifestyle. Their bedtime habit, their stress load, their food choices, and their movement patterns are telling the body, "Survive today, don't invest in long-term vitality." In that context, testosterone doesn't just fall from the sky, it adjusts downward as a rational response to how you live. So let's look más de cerca at that simple evening choice and how it can be turned from enemy into ally. Imagine two versions of the same man. In version A, he finishes dinner, sits on the couch, and opens his phone. He jumps between social media, news, videos, and messages. The hours pass without him noticing. 11:45 p.m., he tells himself, just one more video. 12:15, he finally turns off the TV but keeps scrolling in bed. Bright light floods his eyes in a dark room. His mind is full of stimulating, sometimes stressful content. He falls asleep sometime after 1 a.m. At 6:30, the alarm sounds. He has spent 5.5 hours in la cama, but real deep sleep has been very limited and fragmented. In version B, the same man decides that his health is worth an experiment. He chooses a fixed digital sunset at 10 p.m. That means that by that hour, screens go off. The bedroom is kept dark, cool, and quiet. For the last 45 to 60 minutes of the day, he reads something light on paper, stretches suavemente, talks with his partner, or simply sits in silence. The lights are warm and dim. He goes to bed around 10:45 or 11 and sleeps until 6:30. The alarm still rings at the same time, but his body has enjoyed 7.5 hours of real, mostly uninterrupted sleep. The underlying glands are the same. The age is the same. But the hormonal environment they create during the night is radically different. In version A, cortisol stays higher into the night, melatonin is delayed, growth hormone pulses are blunted, and the window for testosterone production is squeezed. In version B, cortisol drops appropriately, melatonin rises, deep sleep appears earlier and lasts longer, and the testosterone pulses toward the morning have more space and stability. From the outside, version B simply looks like a man who goes to bed a bit earlier and guards his last hour of the day. From the inside, he is a man giving his body permission to restore its own recovery hormones. This doesn't mean you must become perfect overnight, nor does it mean that 1 week of better sleep will magically erase decades of habits. But your body is surprisingly forgiving when you give it consistent, clear signals. To help you start, let me walk you through a concrete, hormone-friendly nighttime strategy, paso a paso. First, set a realistic target bedtime and protect it. Don't choose 9 p.m. if you've spent 20 years going to bed at 1 a.m. Perhaps your first goal is 11 p.m. Instead of focusing on the exact moment you fall asleep, focus on the time when all stimulating activities stop. That is your digital sunset. If you want to be asleep around 11, consider 10 p.m. as the moment screens go off. Put that in your mind as something non-negotiable, like an important appointment. Second, change what happens in the last 60 minutes of your day. Replace bright, cold light with softer, warmer light. Avoid intense news, work emails, and emotionally charged conversations when possible. Use that hour to tell your nervous system it's safe to slow down. You can read, stretch, listen to calm music, practice gentle breathing, or simply sit quietly. The key is to maintain a rhythm that is slower, predictable, and free of digital stimulation. Third, look at your intake. Caffeine can stay in your system for many hours. If you're drinking coffee, tea, or energy drinks in the late afternoon or evening, your brain may still be under their influence when you try to sleep. Experiment with limiting caffeine to the morning or early afternoon. Alcohol is another factor. Many men use a drink as a nightcap, thinking it helps them relax. While alcohol can make you feel sleepy at first, it fragments sleep later in the night and reduces deep restorative stages. If you often drink in the evening, consider reducing the amount and finishing earlier, or exploring alcohol-free alternatives. Fourth, adjust your dinner. Large, heavy meals just before bed force your digestive system to work hard when the rest of your body is trying to recover. That can cause reflux, discomfort, and lighter sleep. Aim to finish dinner at least 2 to 3 hours antes de acostarte. Choose meals with a balance of protein, healthy fats and vegetables, and moderate carbohydrates rather than huge portions of refined starches. This helps control blood sugar and reduces overnight metabolic stress. Fifth, take care of your daytime rhythm because your night begins with how you live your day. Expose yourself to morning light soon after waking. Natural light, even on a cloudy day, anchors your internal clock and helps you feel more alert in the morning and sleepier at night. Move your body daily. You don't need intense workouts. Even a 20 to 30-minute walk and some simple strength exercises a few times a week send your body the message that muscle and circulation are important. That message, repeated, is one of the best invitations you can give your body to maintain testosterone. Sixth, break up long periods of sitting. Every hour or so, stand up, walk a bit, stretch your legs. Sedentary time affects blood flow, insulin sensitivity, and overall vitality. Tiny movement breaks reduce that impact. Over weeks and months, this translates into better weight management, better vascular function, and a more favorable hormonal environment. Now let me bring these ideas to life with some real-world style stories, changing names and details to protect privacy. Think of these as inspirational examples rather than prescriptions. David, 59, came to see me convinced he needed testosterone injections. He complained of low energy, decreased morning vitality, less confidence in intimacy, and gradual weight gain around his abdomen. His lab work showed testosterone in the low normal range for his age, somewhat reduced, but not catastrophic. What caught my eye was his routine. David worked from home and often answered emails until midnight. He used his laptop in bed and then spent another 30 to 40 minutes scrolling on his phone. He was normally asleep by 1 a.m. and woke up at 6:15. "I've been like this for years," he told me. "It's the only time I have to catch up." Instead of starting hormones immediately, I invited David to commit to a 3-month experiment focused on his evenings. We agreed on a 10:30 p.m. screen-off time. He moved his work emails earlier, turned his bedroom into a tech-free zone, and used the last hour for reading and light stretching. We also added a simple walking routine after dinner and encouraged a slightly earlier, lighter evening meal. He felt skeptical, but he was willing to try. After 6 weeks, David reported something interesting. His energy during the day felt more stable. He no longer craved sugar mid-morning. He began to wake up spontaneously just before the alarm. His belt felt a little looser. In his words, "My confidence is coming back, and I haven't taken a single testosterone booster." At the 3-month mark, his follow-up labs showed an improvement in his testosterone and a reduction in markers related to metabolic stress. He wasn't suddenly 25 again, that's not the goal, but he had shifted from a declining spiral to a more resilient state simply by changing his bedtime habit. Another case, Manuel, 67, had practically given up on his intimate life. He would say, "At my age, that part of life is basically over." However, as we talked, it became clear that this conclusion was built on fear and exhaustion, más que en evidencia. He went to bed at 2 a.m. most nights, watching TV and sipping alcohol. He slept until 8 or 9, but his sleep was restless and fragmented. He woke up feeling pesado, with low mood. He avoided any situation that might lead to intimacy because he was convinced he would fail. Con Manuel, we didn't start with technical lecture about hormones. We started with a compassionate conversation about the value of rest and self-respect. He agreed to gradually move his bedtime earlier, first to 1 a.m., then to midnight, and finally to 11:30. He cut alcohol down to 1 small drink with dinner instead of several late at night. He replaced late TV with soft music and breathing exercises. After a couple of months, he came back with tears in his eyes and said, "I don't feel broken anymore. I feel older, yes, but still alive." His sleep quality improved, his mood brightened, and his willingness to connect with his partner returned. Again, his body had not been useless. It had been overwhelmed. A third example is Jorge, 72, who insisted he was just too old to change anything. He felt that his time for vitality had passed. When we reviewed his lifestyle, we saw that he rarely went outside during the day, spent horas sentado, and used his phone in bed until he fell asleep. His testosterone was modest, but not off the chart low. His main issues were severe fatigue, no motivation, and a deep sense of resignation. We made a simple plan. Jorge agreed to spend at least 15 minutes outside every morning, walking slowly around his block. He placed his charger outside the bedroom so he had to leave his phone there before going to bed. He added 2 or 3 light-strength exercises with a chair and a wall. Nothing extreme. Over the following months, his internal narrative changed. He started saying things like, "I didn't know I could still feel this clear in my head," and "I actually look forward to my walk." His hormones hadn't magically multiplied, but his recovery system had more support. His sense of being finished was replaced by a quiet confidence. These stories are not meant to convince you that bedtime habits are the only factor in testosterone and recovery. They're not. Chronic illnesses, certain medications, genetics, and other conditions can all play a role. That's why, if you're experiencing significant symptoms, it's important to have a proper medical evaluation. But these stories do highlight something crucial: your nightly choice, whether you protect your sleep or hand it over to screens and stimulation, is one of the most powerful and most ignored levers you have for your hormones. So, what should you take from all of this? If I had to condense it into one sentence, it would be this: very often, your low T is less a punishment from age and more an answer to how you end your day. Your body listens carefully to your evening routine. If your nights say, there is no real rest, just endless stimulation, your hormones respond by lowering investment in recovery, muscle, and intimacy. If your nights say, the day is done, it's safe to repair, your hormones respond by doing the job they were designed to do, even in your 60s or 70s. The beautiful part is that it's never too late to change this message. You don't need perfection. You don't need to transform your life in one weekend. You only need to start with one deliberate decision. Tonight, I will treat my bedtime as a pillar of my health, not as leftover time. Maybe that means choosing a fixed hour to turn off screens. Maybe it means moving your heavy dinner a little earlier. Maybe it means going for a gentle walk after the sunset, so your body begins to associate evening with peace instead of stimulation. As you adjust these habits, pay attention to the subtle changes. How do you wake up? How does your energy feel mid-morning? How does your mood respond to stress? How does your body feel when you climb stairs or carry groceries? And see, how does your confidence feel in your intimate life? These are all reflections of the same underlying system: your recovery hormones working with you or struggling against the signals you give them. If you notice intense symptoms, such as very low mood, drastic changes in body hair, breast enlargement, severe weakness, or other alarming signs, please don't ignore them. Seek a proper evaluation. Habits and hormones are a team. Sometimes both need attention. But even if you eventually need medications or specific treatments, building a respectful relationship with your sleep and bedtime habits will always be part of the foundation of your recovery. Before we finish, I want to leave you with a gentle challenge. Tonight, when you reach for your phone in bed, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this notification, this video, this news more important than my hormones repairing my body? You don't have to answer out loud. Just feel the question. If, even once, you choose to put the phone away, to dim the lights, and to let your body start its night shift a little earlier, you are already changing your story. If this message resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone, perhaps a friend, a brother, a partner, who keeps saying, I think my testosterone is gone, without realizing how powerful his bedtime choices are. And if you want to keep learning how natural habits, simple routines, and better understanding of your own biology can support your vitality, your circulation, and your intimate confidence in the mature years, I invite you to subscribe and stay with me for future videos. I'm Dr. Mary Parker, and I want you to remember this. Age will change your body, yes, but your daily choices, especially the way you end your day, decide whether those years are lived in slow decline or in active, grounded vitality. Your recovery hormones are not your enemies. They're waiting every night for you to give them a chance.